hopefully you'll have just seen the view of the Yorkshire wolds. If there's ever an advert to come to a part of the world that is spectacular on a day like this, then come to Yorkshire. What I have got, and I'll disappear but come back in a moment, one or two people have said to me, making a mess again, about the amount of dead leaf at the bottom of some of these plants, and I don't know whether you can pick that up, and that's not necessarily the worst case I've seen by a long way. This is from a second week crop on top of the wolds, using the nutritional approach, if you like, trying to keep as much green leaf going, particularly under these adverse growing conditions, or what we have had as adverse growing conditions. All these dead leaves at the bottom in some way are natural. Those leaves have done their job and natural senescence takes place. The other thing that people forget, those leaves that would have probably died off under normal weather patterns, in other words wet, going through spring, they would have actually degraded and wouldn't necessarily be apparent at this stage. What's tended to happen, the dry weather has preserved those leaves, and so they're still present. So that's the reason there looks to be more. The other thing is, of course, that as we've shed tillers, and as the plant is generally so much shorter and the crops are thinner, as you're walking fields and looking down through the crop, and there's a distinct difference between looking at a crop, you know, from a distance as opposed to getting in there and walking it, there's less green leaf above those dead leaves to actually hide them, so they are more apparent, and so people are sort of getting a little bit concerned. Not a concern other than, you know, you'd like to have seen thicker crops which would have hidden those. The other thing about these soils up here, and they do vary, I mean, everybody thinks, well, the Yorkshire term for these wold soils is lad's land. You can make a mess of these soils as well, and there are one or two what people classed as very good growers. Certainly a guy that used to write in a lot of the farming press, farm towards Driffield, did farm some of these wold soils and openly admitted that he wasn't used to them and couldn't farm them. But the one huge benefit they have, if they contain predominantly chalk, which many of them do, as well as outcrops of flint, the chalk is a fantastic reservoir for moisture, and once that chalk is wet, you know, the roots can take that moisture out, that white chalky sponge, if you like, and so crops can survive, and that's fairly evident. They have gone through a particularly bad time even up here, so you've got to bear that in mind when you look onto some of the lighter soils. Heavier soils as well have tended to be okay. They've cracked extremely deeply and extremely early. Is that a good thing? Maybe it is. Maybe it saves a pass with the subsoiler later on, and sunshine for nothing is cheaper than diesel at whatever it is, 60 pence, 70 pence a litre, whatever it is for red diesel now. So you've got to bear those things in mind. Just brought to mind, looking at, there's a field in the distance there, I see, it looks as though there's some trials in there now. Trials day's coming up in early July, so if anybody's interested in attending those trials, where we look at a range of varieties, up to 40 varieties of, this is the wheat site now, 40 varieties of wheat, treated, untreated, completely untreated, and then look at different regimes across a selection of those varieties. Quite interesting, but I would say that, wouldn't I? But if is anybody interested in coming to have a look, give us a ring on the office number 01759 458 207, and we'll obviously put you into the hat to attend and have a look at those trials. Just going back and just in a way reverting back as well to what it's like up here in Yorkshire. I know I don't sort of compare myself in any way to James Herriot, but when you hear some of the phrases that some of these wold farmers have, so spoke to somebody last year, and it was extremely wet at one particular period, and I went to see this guy, and he said, I said, it's not very good weather, but you know, we can't do anything about it. And he stood there dripping wet through and said, aye lad, it's taking the R out of shirt. So that made me laugh a little bit. And then I remember a grower who came to our trial site 2 years ago now, freezing cold day, shirt unbuttoned to his navel just about, and we're going through the varieties, and there was a bearded variety, and I was talking about this bearded variety. I won't give its name, but he said, I tell you what, lad, and this is there must have been 40 growers there at this time. He said, I tell you what, lad, bearded wheat's like bearded women, steer clear. So all these sort of phrases spring to mind, particularly when you've got just the odd minute to enjoy your sandwich and look out onto a view like this. It just brings back some of those phrases. Anyway, we'll move a bit further, just heading towards another grower now, up on the wolds, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye.